the Republican agenda has been forefront as to things that they are trying to accomplish. Overall, we still have not dealt with the true issues in the state of Alabama, and that's dealing with the funding situation, dealing with the rural health care situation, dealing with mental health in the state. These are things that are crucial and that need to be on the top of the priority list, and not some of the things that we're actually discussing every day here.
Alrighty, welcome back. It's Alabama Politics This Week. Josh Moon, David Person, and we are happy now to have with us Representative Pebblin Warren, and she is happy that we've got the whole technological landscape figured out of the program, and she is on here with us. And like I told her, I knew when we sent the instructions over there that if anybody was going to figure it out, it was you. I knew you were going to be able to do this.
Hey,
You've been around a long time and can
else.
do anything.
I don't know. Once you think about those years, you say, Lord, how did you do it? They're adding up. As a matter of fact, next month on the 5th will be 21 years.
Woo!
That I've been here.
Man, that's look, hey, it seems like, and I don't understand. So you were elected when you were what, 7, 8 years old?
Hey, don't age is just a number. That's all I can tell you. Okay.
That's what I was saying. I was thinking that you couldn't be more than 30. Just looking at you, it's
He flirts with all. He flirts with all the women that come on the podcast this way.
I do not.
If you want to try 74, I'll take that. Okay.
Woo!
Wow.
74, man.
Okay.
I'll be honest. In all seriousness, never ever would have guessed that. I would have seriously, I would never ever would have guessed that.
Hey, Representative, Josh has been around black people enough to know that black don't crack. He knows that. So.
Hey, tell him about it. Hey, we love that oily skin. Okay.
That's right.
That's right. Hey, listen, I know how to behave. All right, I know how to behave. Hey, listen, thank you for coming on and spending some time with us. I know you got there are a lot of things happening right now. What is the session is winding down? You, like I said, you've been through this 2 decades now. Been doing it a while. How, in your experience, how has this session been overall? Do you feel like it's been fairly productive? Do you feel like the conversations that y'all have been able to have and the things that you've been trying to do from the Democratic side have been well received, and you've been able to have some wins?
Well, I can say we've made some progress in trying to stop some of the bad things that are trying to happen in the state, but we have not really been privileged enough to have our bills in committee and on the floor as frequently as we would wish them to be. I would say now, since we started, we've probably had about maybe 8 bills, Democrat bills, this entire session, but that's it. And like I said, the agenda is the Republican agenda, and you know where they are and the things that they're trying to do with education, what they're trying to do with the voting rights, what they're trying to do with healthcare situations. I think that it has moved along slowly as normal, but not to a point of being very productive. Okay.
Yeah.
It has again, the Republican agenda has been forefront as to things that they are trying to accomplish. But overall, I don't think we still have not dealt with the true issues in the state of Alabama. And that's dealing with the funding situation, dealing with the rural health care situation, dealing with mental health in the state. These are things that are crucial and that need to be on the top of the priority list, and not some of the things that we're actually discussing every day here.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And, we often bring up here Macon County, which is where your district is located. It often suffers it's a rural district. It's a very rural district. And so when people talk about rural health care and they talk about the problems that are facing rural folks in rural communities, that's Macon County. It's Macon County.
It's definitely.
Yeah, and and that's the other thing. It kind of goes back into the whole gambling discussion as well. Is one of the reasons why I have advocated so strongly for us to do something with gambling, and so we can receive a proper tax revenue, is because I see what gambling has been able to do for Tuskegee, for Macon County, through Victoryland, and some of the progress that was made there over the course of a number of years. And it just it with so many of our Republican lawmakers also represent rural communities. Why do you feel? I mean, have you in discussions with them? And I know it's like banging your head against the wall, so I get it. Okay, I know it is because I've had some of them myself. But when you talk to them about these things that would help your community and would also help their communities, what is it that keeps them from moving forward with some of this stuff?
To be honest with you, partisan politics. It
Mm,
it 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 gears everything that's done, and sometimes you can see that they might be voting one way, but they're feeling another way. And when
mhm,
it comes to this rural health, I think it's really getting to a point now that they're all realizing where they are with rural healthcare issues, and it's getting to be a topic of discussion, especially after we got the 203 million from the big beautiful bill to do the transformation of rural healthcare in Alabama. And
mhm.
as you know, $203 million is not going to be a drop in the bucket for what our needs are in the
No.
state for healthcare. But I think the attention is now being focused on where we are with rural healthcare, because the reality is that people are dying every day for the lack of healthcare. We've also, especially in Macon County, we've had issues with our dialysis for our kidney patients. We had a facility there that had been there, can't tell you how many years, but they gave a 30-day notice that they were closing. And
Mhm.
right now
Mm.
we're in all kind of turmoil trying to see if we can get a replacement, or trying to see if we can get them to extend it to at least 90 days. So I think it's not a secret anymore.
Yeah.
Our needs for rural healthcare are very, very obvious. And see, you look at where we are and what we're dealing with, especially in Macon County. You're dealing with a lot of poor people. And when you're dealing with poor people, you're dealing with Medicaid. And as you know, Medicaid is in the state of Alabama is probably one of the lowest paid. For example, with the dialysis system, I think Medicaid only pays $200 a case, when the average insurance company pays, some of them are paying as much as to $1,400 a case. So when you look at coming to a place where you know you're not going to make a profit, you really don't want to come. You look at a
Mhm.
place like Tuskegee that's rural, small town, don't have the big things. You're also looking at the situations where doctors don't want to come, especially with families. They're looking for certain environments. They're looking for certain things that we just can't offer them in the rural communities. So I'm hoping that somewhere in our discussions, we'll come up with some type of incentive program that we can try to attract some rural doctors. And I think telemedicine is really going to be the key to a lot of our shortcomings. But again, the major issue is money.
Mm.
We got to get the money that we need. Alabama is going to have to find some way to generate some revenue if we expect to progress and to move ahead with the
Yeah.
issues that we are facing today.
If only there were an industry out there willing to fork over like $1 billion a year in tax dollars for and no economic incentives, and that we're already doing anyways. If only that such a thing existed, right?
Yeah, right, but it doesn't exist. I mean, that's
Right.
just not the reality of
Well,
it.
it's
And I
gambling.
think that
Gambling exists. Gambling
well,
exists out there.
I have no problems with gaming. When you look at our surrounding counties, I mean states, Tennessee, Mississippi, Georgia, Florida, we're losing, and I would estimate billions of dollars in tax
Yeah.
revenue that's going out to other states. And okay, if you don't wanna gamble, don't gamble. But it should be a source of revenue that we can really generate some decent spending money for the state of Alabama. Because if we don't, we can't make it. You look at how the federal government, the cuts we're dealing. Look at the cuts in Medicaid. Look at the cuts with the SNAP program. And when we do those cuts, they're looking at us to fill in the gaps. and we don't have the resources to fill in those gaps. So we're going to have a lot of people in the state of Alabama for the next couple of years that's going to really suffer, really
Hmm.
suffer.
I was looking, Representative Warren, at your some of the legislative actions you've been taking over the past few years, and I've noticed that healthcare is in fact has taken a lot of your time, and you've put a lot of focus on that. Um, as I listen to you today, and I think about what I looked at yesterday, what do you think what is the problem that um, that 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 and I know you said politics, but it seems to me like maybe there's something even deeper going on than just politics that causes some of your fellow legislators to literally turn their backs on their own constituents when it comes to not supporting some of the legislative initiatives you've put forth related to health care and that others have.
Well, the problem in Alabama is very simple and very plain. President Obama was the one who opened the doors to health care for everybody. Anything that resembles what he was trying to do for health care in Alabama is erased off the board. And I keep telling them, don't use the word expansion. Use anything except expansion, but find a way so that we can get the money, because we lost billions of dollars by not expanding Medicaid. I mean, we got the money for the research and we used that. But when it came to actually dealing with the people, and I think that's where we are now. We're so caught up now into political politics, we've forgotten about our main purpose, and that's the people. And I think that, once we can focus more on the needs of the people, we can do a better job, because we're our pictures are not looking any better. I mean, we're rated the lowest in just about everything across the country. And if we expect to survive in this state and be progressive and to win new people, and really, to be honest with you, to keep our people in the state, because I know as minorities, so many of our young kids, once they get their degrees, Alabama is bye bye. They're gone.
Yeah,
So we got
yeah.
to find ways of making it more attractive that people will want to stay and be productive in the state of Alabama. And as a matter of fact, I just passed. Got a resolution passed this week where I'm looking at mental illness. We have really just all but closed our eyes to one of the biggest problems that we have in this state now. That's mental illness, and it starts from the little ones on up to the old ones. And when we close our long-term facilities in the state of Alabama, we cause devastation throughout the state. So in my world, mental illness is high. It's really, right now, it's the first thing on my priority, because you see
Wow.
people walking around with these conditions. You hear family members not able to cope with those that they're dealing with. You see probate judges, you see sheriffs trying to find places to go, and we just don't have the facilities. So
Hmm.
hopefully this task force, what I want them to do is just look up where we are and try to come up with some type of recommendation that we can at least provide some adequate long-term care for mental illness, because it's a problem. And I think my
Yes.
colleagues, I'm just glad to say that that's one thing they are realizing that is a problem in the state of Alabama. I've had so many calls since I introduced that resolution about what we need to
Hmm.
do, and people wanting to participate in it. So I think that with our mental illness, it has now reached everybody's level that we know we're going to have to do something about that.
That's great. You talked earlier about well, you and Josh were talking earlier about gaming, about gambling, and you expressed, your support for gaming, and the good that can come from it if we were to, fully enable it, and expand it, appropriately. Another industry that could generate a lot of revenue that has been really fought, I think, by a lot of your fellow legislators is the cannabis hemp industry. It seems to me like that's another one that could generate hundreds of millions of dollars over time for the state and could really not only help in terms of generating revenue for the state, but also help just the economy in general and also help people. You just talked about mental health. It would help some people who are dealing with chronic pain and other issues, medical issues. Cannabis or hemp could be the solution to that. Do you think we're finally on track now that some stores or clinics are going to be allowed to operate? Now they're saying, at least in one story I read, they're saying maybe as soon as next month. Do you think we're finally now headed in the right direction when it comes to cannabis and hemp?
Well, we passed the bill, 2 or 3 years ago, and we have not made any progress because we've been in court. And
Mm.
that's again, I tell my colleagues, we do a lot of things and we pass bills that we really don't know anything about. I
Hmm.
think that when you look at where we are, we're going to have to call in experts to really help us and not sit here among ourselves and try to come up with the solutions and the bills that's going to really remedy what the causes are. I think that you see right now, my husband and I went and was in the parking lot the other night, and a vape store was in that area. That vape store door opened constantly. People were going in and out, going in and out. And what they're doing, they're getting the candies, they're getting the whatever, the drinks that they're getting. And it's something that it's legal on one side and then illegal on the other side. So we're gonna have
Hmm.
to find ways that we can have laws that are safe laws that's not uh really promoting anything that's harmful, but we have so much research out now that says where we are with our cannabis and health issues and mental issues. The VA. This one guy had some marijuana one day and he had it in a box and he was sitting on the front porch smoking it. And my husband stopped and asked him, "Man, what you doing sitting here?" He said, "Oh, I got this from the government." Okay. So you're having the government that's really giving the cannabis to their patients for reasons. And that's the federal government. So as the state, we're going to have to, Alabama, we're supposed to be the most religious state in the country.
Right.
But I
Hmm.
think we have taken our religious philosophies a little too far because we have really just started trying to control people's personal lives. And I don't think that's the role of legislators. We're supposed to be protecting and doing what's right, not trying to dictate to a person how they need to live and what they need to do. So if we can move ahead, like I told folks, I said, with all the aches and pains and things that I have, I said, if they make it legal, I'm gonna have to try something too to see what's going on because all these inflammatory drugs you're taking that's messing up your stomach and doing everything. So I think
Yes.
it's really it's at a point where we need to again open our minds and be more up to date and not be the quote and the description of Alabama being last and Alabama being backwards. And again, it's the mindset. I look at people that I work with every day here, and I see how limited their exposures are. It's amazing how people have just been here in Alabama. It's just
Hmm.
Alabama. I mean, we got to get out and start seeing what the world is doing and
Yes,
and
ma'am.
bringing those things to Alabama and networking. But like I said, when you talk to people, you see they're very limited in their knowledge and networking and really knowing what's happening because they stay here in Alabama all the time. We got to get
Yes,
out
ma'am.
and start really networking with other states and seeing how things are working. Because you go to other states, you see um, people walking the street smoking reefer. You see things going
Hmm.
on all over the place. And we're sitting here because, believe it or not, the people in Alabama are going to those states. They're getting what they want to. They're coming back to Alabama, using them however they want to deal with them. But again, it's now time. And I tell folks all the time when I discuss, I say, y'all, this is 2026. Have you not looked around and see how things have changed? How
Yeah.
the mindsets, and especially the mindsets of our younger people It's
Yes,
different.
ma'am.
We're
Yes,
dealing
ma'am.
with a whole different, scenario when you're talking about dealing with people in the state of
Mhm.
Alabama now. It's just things are changing,
Yeah,
and it's time for us
absolutely.
to change.
Absolutely. I would be remiss as a proud HBCU graduate, Oakwood University, and I also did some studies at Alabama A&M University. I would be remiss if I did not ask you, how are things going at Tuskegee University?
Well, Tuskegee is going through the same thing that most of our higher ed HBCUs are going through, and that's the shortage of funding. Okay. Philanthropy back in the years used to be great, especially our private schools, all the foundations, we could get money and things there. But right now, we are not receiving the revenues that we need from, and Tuskegee, as you know, is a state related institution. Booker T was very smart. He didn't start Tuskegee without coming to the legislature, getting a bill to start it. So
Mhm.
we are, quote, private, but we're state related. And in dealing with that, we have a separate line item in the budget for Tuskegee. And we're very, very thankful because, as a matter of fact, when I started in this position, Tuskegee could barely get $4 million from the state. Since I've
Oh,
been here this year, we're going to end up with something like 22 million. Okay.
oh,
So I
awesome.
have worked very hard over these years and pleading and begging and putting our case out there because Tuskegee can produce some of the really, you look at the veterinarians, when you look at all the major
Mhm.
veterinarians out here in the country, they were educated at Tuskegee. You look at the Black engineers, they were educated at Tuskegee. So we're
Mhm.
producing workers for the workforce and to deal. And another issue that we're really having, and you look around at all our HBCUs, is our deferred maintenance. Our
Mm.
buildings are old. I said,
Yes,
old,
ma'am.
old, old. We need so much to go in and renovate. Right now at Tuskegee, we have a shortage of housing. We're having to send students on a back-to-back basis to apartments in Auburn to stay because we
Okay.
can't accommodate them on campuses. So
Mm.
when you look at where we are financially, we're going to have to find ways and get our resources in order. Right now at Tuskegee, we started a campaign, a $300 million campaign that we're trying to achieve so that we can do some of the things that we need. But we're dependent on outsiders. And as I tell my alums, we got to depend on our alums. We got to remember, how we got to where we are today and write those checks and remember our institutions because that's the only way we're going to survive. And believe you me, we got to survive. We are still dealing with first generation kids, Alabama with our educational system and where kids are coming from. They're coming to colleges really unprepared. And we
Mhm.
have to sit there and start dealing with that remediation, which most universities don't want to deal with because they should be ready. But we're looking at the realities. Our students graduating in Alabama are really not ready for higher ed. So those
Mm.
are instances where at our HBCUs, we really put emphasis in trying to get the kids where they need to be in order to be successful. So again, it's just a situation when you look all around the country for our HBCUs, we're all suffering because of financial. State institutions are not getting, what they should be getting for equal shares. We just dealt with the agricultural situation where they said that we've been underfunded by billions in the state of Alabama
Mhm.
because we have not made the match to deal with the federal dollars. But we are going to survive. I don't know whether you know it or not, but I serve on the board of trustees at Tuskegee. And that has been one of the most eye-opening experiences I've had because from the outside looking in, you think is one way, but once you get in the inside and you see what the issues are, where the finances are, we got to constantly work to make our institutions and to put them strong so they can survive.
Yes, ma'am.
Man, it's I've spent a lot of great Saturday afternoons over at Tuskegee. It was I covered them when I first started in newspapers. It was one of the first things they sent me to cover was Tuskegee, and I learned very quickly about the shed and the ball and parlay, and you
The
know those.
winningest team in
That's,
Alabama.
that's
Okay.
right. We were listen. Rick Comegee was there as the head coach for the football team at that time, and then Willie Slater came in, and I had I enjoyed it. I loved it. I loved going up to Tuskegee on a Saturday and spending the afternoon there and watching the games and following them around. And I tell people all the time, I hear so many people down the HBCUs, and I tell them you're down in it from afar because you don't understand. When they quote the graduation rates or the success rates of I said you don't understand what they're doing in a community. All right, you don't
That's right.
understand. You don't understand what Tuskegee means to the folks in Macon County, and what it's meant to so many kids for doing exactly what you just said, taking kids who were unprepared by the underfunded schools that we've put them through and preparing them for life and preparing them for successful careers that they never would have had. I mean, the HBCUs, ASU, Tuskegee, A&M, just pick some, and they've changed the course, the direction of entire families. For
Yeah.
generations, they've changed that, and whatever money. Listen, as far as I'm concerned, you can't give them enough money. But hey, before I let you go, I know, I was told that you wanted to talk about some voting rights bills, and I know that we've got some of those coming through because I know that the Republicans are constantly trying to limit voting by somebody. They want somebody not to vote all the time. So what's kind of going on now? What are we looking at in terms of helping there?
The thing that's really disturbing me is the bill where they want you to declare a party before
Mm-hmm.
you vote. In other words, eliminating cross voting in the parties. I think that's very, very bad. I think and when they really look at it, it might hurt the Republican Party more than it hurts the Democrat Party, because I know in general elections there are several there are a lot of Democrats that will cross over and vote for Republicans. Number one, sometimes we don't have no other choice to make but to
Mm-hmm.
get that person. But when you start trying to, it's really taking away one right of choice. You
Yeah,
can't tell me that because I'm a Democrat today, I got to be a Democrat tomorrow. I got to vote democratically. When you start looking at where we are and looking at the candidates, a voter should have the choice to pick whoever they want to vote for.
that's right.
And that's where I think what we're seeing now, and I'm hoping that if the bill gets to the floor for the discussion, we're going to have to let them know. Look at how many folks you got. For example, look at Katie Britt. Everybody knows that many Democrats voted for her. Okay,
Yeah,
and when you start looking at what it's going to do to the party as a whole, it's killing it. So I'm hoping and praying that that bill will not be successful in coming up. I was trying to read it on it last night, and I said, now this is just a bunch of childish, selfish actions
mm-hmm.
because they're not realistic. And when I don't even think the people would want to do that. I think the majority of the people in Alabama want to make choices and
That's
they
right.
want to do what they want to do. And to have to declare a party when you register, come on, you got folks 18 years old registered and they don't even know what politics is all about. And you're telling them that they got to declare their parties at these early times. So what you see is these are just voter violations. And to me, it's a way of showing your intimidations. It's a way of showing your weaknesses. It's a way of showing your fear that something is going to be taken away from you that you got to hold on to as a tight. But like I
Mm.
say, government is about the people, and the people should be the leading force in the decisions that we're making. The people should have the right to vote for whoever they want to when they want to vote.
That's 100% right, and especially if the people are paying for that election. and as last I checked, we're still paying
Yeah.
for it.
Yes.
Representative
Yeah.
Warren, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. And let me tell you, whenever you have a lawmaker say to you, look, there's things that we don't know about up here, and we need to bring in experts and better
Yeah.
educate ourselves. You got
Yeah.
yourself a good lawmaker. All right.
That's
And I
right.
hope the folks
That's
in
right.
Macon County realize what you've meant to them for the last 20 years. And I hope that they understand just how fortunate they've been to have you there. And I know you're going to be around for a few more years. 'Cause I know you're running for reelection,
Well,
so I hope you're there for a while longer.
it's campaign time now, and like I tell them, the guys are just all over me. I say I got 3 guys running against me. I say, the lady done got it to where it's solid, where
Yeah.
it needs to be. Just let me stay here one more time, okay? I
That's it,
think
man. Yeah.
because it's needed. When you think of my position here, I've been very, very fortunate. I serve on general fund, I serve on rules, I serve on health. These are the committees that are really making the solid decisions.
That's right.
And to be perfectly honest with you, I say this not as a fact of brag, but I'm the only Democrat in the Alabama legislature that chairs a committee. And I chair a committee in the most powerful committee, and that's in rules.
That's yeah, you're right. It's that's definitely saying something. And listen, I think you're gonna be fine. I think the folks realize what they got, and especially if your opponents keep going to jail, I think it'll also also help out a little bit. So, hey,
All right,
look,
John. All right.
come on now. You know me. You know me. You know I'd say something. Hey, Representative Warren, thank you so much. Thank you.
Listen, we got to pray for everybody.
That's
We
right.
got to do that. And I tell everybody, all you can do is just pray that God's will is done, and that somewhere everybody can find a solid place. And
Absolutely.
it's bad that some of these things are happening, but it's life,
That's right.
and you have
That's
to
right.
deal with it.
That is right. Hey, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Representative.
Yes,
Okay,
take care,
and thank y'all.
Representative.
And I enjoyed you. And nice meeting you, David. And I will
Yes,
not
ma'am.
forget your name. I tell anybody when I meet a David, you're always in my heart, because my husband is David and my number one
Nice.
grandson is David. So I just love
Nice.
Davids. Okay.
All
That's
right.
right.
I take that. I love that.
All right.
That's awesome. Thank you.
That was Representative Pebblin Warren. Thank you so much. We're going to slide out. We'll come back in just a minute. It's Alabama Politics This Week, brought to you by Wing Creek Entertainment. Back in a minute.